Hey everyone, I'm Katie Jones, and welcome to another interview on Agape Investing. Today I'll be talking with Stephanie Ferrara, who is a Christ-centered business coach for women who are just starting out their businesses. She helps them to find their niche as well as their personal brand in order to have a healthy, thriving, Christ-centered business. I'm really excited to talk with her. We're actually going to be chatting about the importance of having a personal brand over having a brand for your company or product. So, kind of talking about the differences there. So, with that, we'll get to the interview. Okay, so welcome, Stephanie. Thanks so much for being here with me today.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me, Katie.
Yes, of course. So I just wanted to start out by having you maybe introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us more about yourself so we can get to know you. And then maybe if you want to start to go into how you became a business coach.
Definitely. So once again, just thank you for having me on. I am I'm excited about what God's doing in business in general. And I think that the way that he got me into this business is interesting. It wasn't my plan. I spent 20 years in project management for corporations in the financial services industry. And a few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, I started getting that itch that there was something different I was supposed to be doing. And it grew over time. And then one summer, I think in 2016, I was working from home, and over that week, I got just major downloads of a business plan around business and life coaching. And at the time, I really didn't know what it was. Like, I had to go Google what is a life coach, right? Because I really didn't know what that was. And I was involved in ministry at church, and then in my business or my work, I was a project manager. So I was dealing with lots of different types of people, helping draw out their vision. Like, they would have an idea of what they wanted to have happen, and drawing out that vision and helping them then implement that and make it happen. And through that, I think that was like, I looked at it, when I look back at it, I think like all of that was like a training ground for what I'm doing today, where I'm helping small business owners draw out their vision and then help implement that. And so today, as a small business owner myself, as a business coach, I am a Christ-centered business branding coach. I help women who are in the early stages of their business to develop the strong foundations for a healthy, thriving, God-driven business. And for me, that doesn't mean necessarily that your faith has to be at the very front of what you're doing. You don't have to have, the cross in your logo and things like that. It's more about what you're doing on the back end and how you're running your business, who you see as your CEO. Is it you or is it God? And really seeking the Holy Spirit for guidance every day in your business. What is the thing I need to do next? What is that next step? And then wrapping that into my signature system of creating your personal brand and developing your target audience, your niche, developing your personal brand around that, and then figuring out what your signature system is. And really, those are the three parts of a personal brand. And so I've just kind of grown into that. So I've been in business for a couple years now, and it's just been amazing what God has done, how God's brought certain clients to me, what's been happening just in my own life, the growth I've had over these 2 years. From a more personal standpoint, I am an Army wife. I have 2 children. One is grown and married, one's in middle school, and it's a big difference between the two. Yeah. And right now we're balancing a little bit of a difference with that military life, and that my husband lives in Virginia and I'm in Arkansas. And so balancing a little bit there, which is very different for us. We haven't had to do that in the past. We haven't had to have that time apart like that. So that's been very different for me. But I've been so grateful that during this time, I've had I've had the business. So the stability of being able to be at home still, even, with what's going on with, school not being in session and all of that, we're homeschooling. I think it's been a benefit that I was already home, right? I already
Yeah.
had, it's disrupted my routine a little bit, and I've had to change a few things, but I think overall, I've just been so grateful that I was already in a position where my business was really all online, and I kind of set it up that way to begin with. So I didn't have disruption from that standpoint. And just being able to be here and be flexible with what my daughter's schedule and what she needs, and being able to work around, we started having kind of morning stand-ups, where it's like, what do you have on your plate today? Where do you need my help with your schoolwork? This is what I have. So, okay, so at 2:00, I have an hour break, in between this meeting or that meeting and stuff. So, okay, during that time, I can help you with math,
Yeah, that definitely makes, running a business at home a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
cool. Yeah, thanks so
Thankfully,
much for,
she wasn't, I can't imagine trying to do it like with elementary school, and because I know that they need a
yeah,
little
that
more
would be
hands-on.
really tough.
Yeah, she was very independent with it. So it was just like, I know I'm going to need your help for this particular assignment. And so we were able to schedule that time in.
Perfect. Well, so there was so much in there. I would love to start to unpack that. First off, I love that you talked a little bit about the fact that we're Christians doesn't mean that we need to have a very, faith forward, brand. It doesn't necessarily mean that we need to have a cross in our logo, that we have to have, kind of like Christ plastered on the front of our business, but it's a lot about how we operate and how we run our business and how we treat our customers and clients. So I think that's so important. I love that you mentioned that, and that you're helping people understand that and see that about their own brands. And before we kind of talk about that, I'd love to talk about a little bit on how a personal brand is different from a company brand. So I know that you talk about that you're helping people kind of develop their personal brand. So how can we separate those two, especially for those of us who might have a small business?
Definitely. And that's really where the personal brand comes in, is that in that small business arena. So the difference between a personal brand and a corporate brand is, who you're doing business with. When you have a small business, you know who the owner is. Generally, that's the person who's doing the videos, they're doing the commercials, they're making the posts. Could be a solopreneur or even just a small shop, whether that's a small local business or an online business, but you know who the owner is, right? And so you as the owner, it's important. People want to do business with you. They want to know who you are. They want to know what you're about. They want to know a little bit of a kind of that peek behind the scenes of your personal life and who you are. And that's what's going to build that know, like, and trust factor that we're all looking for in our businesses, so that we build customer loyalty. And so the difference is, if you are a small business and you're trying to appear big, a big difference is, think of it from a Facebook page standpoint, right? You want to have your picture in the profile picture, not your logo. That way they know who they're doing business. They can see it's a real person, right? And then you want to make sure that you're not using, this is one big one that I know I've worked with several of my clients on in their websites. Quit using we, go ahead and use I. Especially if you are the one that they're working directly with most. If you do have a small team and it could be we, then yes, it's definitely appropriate. But in a lot of it, you can really say, like, I'll work with you, not we work with you. If it's really just you don't have to appear big. So it's okay to just be you. And that's really the premise of it. Like, be you. And while you're not you, it's kind of when it comes to how you present yourself online, I kind of like to use a little bit of that 80-20 rule. So 80% is going to be business related. You're sharing business tips. You're sharing, how people, your free offer. You're sharing things that are related, right, to your business. So that set you up as that expert in in that area. But then about 20% of it is going to be like you and the dog, or, you know, what you're doing with your kids, or running out for ice cream, or things like that, that bring that personal side to it, so that they know, like, you know, you're a real person and things happen. And some of it's even sharing your failures and stuff, being vulnerable enough to share, like, man, I had this happen. I really tried hard on it and it just didn't work. And I was crushed, you know, and people actually, it doesn't repel them. Like, that makes you so real. They're like, oh, wow, because that's not normal. Like, most of the time out, you know, in marketing, you're seeing, you know, all of the perfect, you're seeing the airbrushed side of things, right? And the photoshopped life. And that's not what people want to do business. Really, that's not where people want to do business. They want to do business with the real. And that's the importance of that personal brand. So it's, while logo and website and the visual branding is important, and you need to have cohesiveness and some, you know, you want to be recognizable with that, with the visual branding. What's going to draw people in is you as the owner, and who you are and your personality. And so you want to bring that out in your brand.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that when I post things on my Instagram or something that happened to be a little bit, you know, more personal, kind of behind the scenes in a sense. I feel like I do get a lot of response from that, and people connect with you and they're like, oh, this person, you know, Katie's just like myself. She has, you know, troubles. I posted something just a couple days ago about face masks and how how my face masks have changed over the last like couple months, and people were responding and they're like, oh yeah, face mask. And I'm like, oh, this like all of a sudden got a few laughs and some good responses. So I definitely see how that's important. So I actually, I want to, go ahead.
I was going to say, honestly, from the standpoint of just how, you know, how the social media algorithms work and all that kind of stuff, those posts get more, they get more reaction. More people will comment on something that's more personal than they will on, you know, here's my freebie, or even a business tip, right? You'll have a few people that may like the business tip. They may say, hey, great, you know, great advice, something like that. But those personal posts that get more of the traction, they get more interaction. Those posts are the ones that really help people see the business ones. And so it's important to have those that are a little bit more, that aren't business, because people do feel, they feel more comfortable posting or commenting on those, but those help you with getting the other posts seen. So it's important to have that balance. You've got to have the business ones. You can't have just personal, or else nobody knows you're a business. So you definitely want to have more business posts than the personal, but the personal ones definitely boost your visibility for the business post as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to talk a little bit about how we can incorporate our faith into our personal branding. So I know we talked about in the beginning that our faith is really important, especially on the backside of our businesses. But, you know, if we're not a completely faith-forward brand, how do we still incorporate our faith maybe into our branding?
Sure. I think a lot of that really has to do with, I think for me, that boils down to just the integrity of what you're going to bring to market, how you're going to bring it to market, how you market, right? How you present yourself and your company. And so it's that faith within your business is going to show up in your mission. It's going to show up in your vision for your business, which feeds into some of the copywriting you're going to do and things like that. But it doesn't have to, like I said, it doesn't have to be in your marketing. It doesn't have to be in your visual brand, but it's how you show up. So it's that integrity in how you show up for your clients. It's the integrity in how you show up. You know that you've put together a content calendar that has you going live 3 days a week and things like that. And are you going to hold yourself in integrity to an appointment you've made with yourself even? I mean, that's a big one. And that's one, I think, that your faith and how you incorporate your faith into your brand has more to do if it's not going to be faithful. Like if you go look at my website, faith is kind of like all over it, right?
Yeah.
But that's because my goal is to attract faith-filled small business owners, women who do who do want to incorporate some, they want to learn how to do that. They want to learn how to let God lead them in their business. And so for me, because of that, like it has to be out there. It's got to be part of it. I don't want anybody to get into one of my programs and then find out, oh, she's going to talk about God all the time.
Yeah.
Like you need to know it on the front end. But other businesses that I have coached, that part of it isn't necessarily, right up front. It's not, if it's a retail store or something like that, it doesn't have to be a faith-based retail store, where everything has to do with the Holy Spirit and God, and, every product has to do with that. But it's more about that, just like I said, that your mission and your vision for your business and how you show up in your business. Are you praying for your customers, praying for your business, praying for your vendors, those types of things? Are you asking God, like, is this the right direction for my business? Do I expand in this direction, or do I need to go that way? And that's where you bring faith into your business. If it's not, whether you're wanting it to be a faith forward business or not.
Yeah, definitely. I think prayer, that continues to be a common theme whenever I have these interviews, is incorporating prayer into our business and how important that is and how practical it is and how we can see results after we have prayed over business decisions for our clients, for different partners, for our employees. I think that's awesome. Prayer is extremely important to implement into any aspect of our business. So moving on to some maybe more practical tips on personal branding. For those of us who might not know right now what our personal brands are, what can we do to kind of figure that out? So what are some steps to figuring out a personal brand?
So for me, every time, one, it's the vision for your business. So what is it, that overall vision? What do you want your vision, what do you want your business to accomplish? So what problem are you solving for people? But also, like, what encouragement are you trying to bring? What is that vision for your business? And how is that, as far as how does your business affect your customer, right? And then who is that customer? You've got to know who your niche is. You've got to, and I'm a big proponent of having a very narrow niche, not that wide, like, just women, but what type of women. And even within that, I was actually talking with a client this morning who she works with women, and I've kind of challenged her to find, 10 to 20 different types of women that may fit into that just overall title of woman. Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of us out there.
There are. So is it moms? Is it divorced moms? Are they in their 40s? Are they in their 30s? Like all kinds of categories to it. Right.
Yeah.
And so I actually have a masterclass, it's Nail Your Niche Masterclass, where we get into that, and we hone in on a particular niche, so that, and you get narrow enough where you can really define one person within that niche. And that one person is who, when you're writing your content, when you're writing your social media posts, when you are developing a new program or deciding on a new product, you're asking, how does this serve her, that one person? For me, it's always her. Yeah. Somebody else, it might be him or her, it might be a male or a female. But being able to pull in a story around that one person that you consider to be your ideal client, I even take my clients through creating a whole like backstory for them. You know, they're in their mid-30s,
Nice.
they've got a couple of kids, they're wanting to get out of their corporate job. She's really, she enjoys what she's doing, but she knows that she's supposed to be doing something different. She's trying to figure out what that is, So it's really putting a story to her so that when you're doing anything in your business, it's kind of like when you can ask the question, is that on brand? You're considering, this is my ideal client. Does what I'm doing help her? And even, from just on a day-to-day basis, when you get up and you're trying to figure out what you're supposed to do today, how can I serve her today? What is it that I can do today that's going to help her get one step closer to her dream? And that's one of the things that is so key to your personal brand, because that's going to lend to the voice that you have in your copywriting. That's going to lend how you market. And then one of the other pieces to that personal brand is that system you have for your clients. So every client has, you have kind of a step-by-step process, whether you want to call it a framework or you want to call it modules in a course, or however you want to describe it. Even for businesses that aren't in the online space or that are selling products, that system is maybe your customer experience. What is that customer experience from the time they hit your website or they walk in your front door of your store to the time that they purchase and then walk out? And then what happens after? So it's that whole customer service, customer experience system. And defining that system plays into your brand, because that when you can create that expectation that every time they come to you, they are going to get the same level of service. They're going to get the same level of care. And when it comes to a course or coaching and things like that, then the trust that is built by you being able to advertise and talk about that system that you have, that builds trust, that it's like, I'm not just hiring you and we're going to say, okay, what do you want to work on today? Because the customer doesn't know, right?
They're like, I thought you would know.
I thought you would know. Exactly. And so putting together that system and being able to convey what that system does, what that framework does for them within your marketing copy, within your website, within your sales page. That's what's going to build that level of trust, that you know what you're talking about. And if I hire you, you're going to take me through this system that's going to get me to the transformation I desire. And so that is part of it. So a lot of people really think of branding as just the visual aspects of their business, the logo and the colors they choose, the fonts they choose. And all of that is important. It's important to have a cohesive look to your business and to have, colors that reflect your personality, when I think about like the colors I chose for my website, they're colors I've loved all my life. Since I was in grade school, like their colors my room was one, when I was that color, it was that teal color, all of those types of things that play into it. But that's my personality. That's what comes, that's how I show up as me. It comes with those colors. When I was trying to pick fonts, and I'm like, okay, well, it needs to be kind of flowy. It's a little bit of cursive and it's a little bit of print. And when I think through that, it's like, oh, well, that's kind of my handwriting. Okay.
Yeah, like which one speaks you the most?
Exactly. And then what sets you apart? The other piece is what sets you apart? Because nobody, if you're the only one doing what you're doing, it's going to be a big uphill battle, right? So when you go into business, especially early on, sure, once you've got some, established, maybe you can like be a forerunner in something, but when you're first getting started, you need to be doing something other people are doing, because at least you know that there's a market for it. Yeah. And so part of that is, what are you doing? And even though somebody else is doing that, or thousands of other people are doing that same thing, what do you bring to the table that's different? And a lot of times that is your personality, your way of doing things, how you speak, it's just you and your uniqueness and how God made you, the gifts that he gave you, and how do you bring those gifts out in that business. And all of that plays into that personal brand that makes that business truly you, over just a logo and a company name.
I love that. I like that, the idea of the way that you are set apart, that your business is set apart from others, is you. I mean, it's you because it's your experiences that you have, the way you speak to your customers, the way that you engage with them. I mean, I think that's key, knowing that you are different from everyone else and that you bring your own experiences to the table, and that's what sets you apart from everyone else.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's all about you.
Yeah. So I've been really excited about this conversation, and I know that you obviously offer services on figuring out your personal brand, on how someone can figure out their personal brand. So I know that you have on your site kind of an introduction kind of freebie on how to create that personal brand. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Definitely. So I do have a brand building cheat sheet that you can get for free on my website. You can go to empoweredcreativitycoach.com/cheat sheet, and you can download the brand building cheat sheet. And really it walks through several different aspects of what we've talked about today, and kind of with leading questions of, how do you want this to be presented in your business? How do you want faith to be forward in it? You know, that's one of the questions, like how much of your faith do you want represented in your business? And so there are several different questions within that help you draw out those personal pieces, so that you can start incorporating them into your marketing, into your branding, your visual branding, and into your copywriting.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. I'm probably going to have to go check that out. I haven't downloaded it yet myself, but I know that this is definitely something I need. And honestly, I think that anyone who has, even if it's just a simple blog, or even if you have a business that's thriving, figuring out and nailing down your brand is so important. And so for myself, I'm like really excited because I'm like, I feel like I have a personal brand, but I could probably define it a little bit more. And I think that it's something that we probably all could continue working on and developing and really
and I think
solidifying.
that's key, and something that I want to mention is that your brand, how you present your brand, will probably evolve over time.
Yeah.
My first round of really pulling together my visual brand for Empowered Creativity Coach, I selected certain colors and some certain fonts. I've actually this year started changing and tweaking a few of those. They're still in the same family, but I've made a few changes. Some of it's just been like, as I've looked at this one font on my website, I'm like, that's really kind of hard to read. So while it looks great in my logo, right there on my website, not so much. So I've started to change some of those things that, and so it still is going to have the same feel, but just a little bit different and a little bit easier to read. Also with like one of the colors that I chose early on with peach, I found out like that peach it looked good online, but then if I printed it, it didn't look as good.
Didn't look as
and
good.
Stuff like that. So it kind of made in trying to make some of my social images with that color didn't work out so well. So I've chosen it, just kind of scaled it down a little bit. It's a little bit lighter. Yeah. So just know that like it's okay to change things over time, to make little small tweaks as you play with some of these things, even some of the wording and everything, put it out there, read it several times, then leave it for a while, and then come back and read it again and say, does that still feel true? And tweak it if it doesn't, make some changes, and it's okay. I think our websites are ever evolving. They're never static and done.
Definitely.
And our personal brand is the same. There's going to be some like fundamentals, some base pieces of it that just aren't going to change. But some of the way that you express it, as you learn more about yourself, as you learn more about how that plays out in your business, what do people react to, when you start putting some of that copy out there, what works and what doesn't. So what works, you're going to do a little bit more of, right? And so those are those things that evolve over time. But you have to start somewhere. And
Definitely.
I think my goal is hopefully that brand building cheat sheet is that place where you can start. You can pull together some of these pieces, and you can start playing with some of those on your website and in your social media marketing.
Yeah. I know for myself, when I started my blog a little around like 2 years ago, it doesn't really look a lot the same now that it did then, because I mean, kind of the same thing. I started seeing it different ways and started perceiving it how someone else might view it, and just kind of continued to let it evolve. And I know that even today I've added different aspects to even my color of branding and the way that my website looks and things like that. But it's important to not just, stay the same, you continue to evolve and grow. So yeah, it's really important.
And I just know from just different personality types and everything, like some people need permission to change it, and it's okay to change it. And some people need
Yes.
permission to make a decision knowing that they may change it later, like because they'll get stuck in that paralysis of what if it's wrong? Well, if it's wrong, you
Yeah.
just can change it later,
Ugh, waiting for perfection is just a form of procrastination. I mean,
Oh, it so
honestly.
is. It so is, yes.
But yeah, you just got to get something out there.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Stephanie. Honestly, these tips, I'm already really excited to go back and listen to this, because this was a lot of information that was so practical to any business, any, person who is out there trying to make a name for themselves and ultimately point back to Christ. So thank you so much for these tips. And I will make sure to have a link to your website as well as that freebie in the notes, so people can go check it out and hopefully connect with you further on personal branding.
And Katie, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and I've enjoyed our time together.
Yeah, thanks again.
Hey, if you've been enjoying these interviews that I've been doing with other Christians on different aspects of faith and work, give the video a like and subscribe to our channel. That way I know that you're enjoying it and will continue to make similar videos. If you have any requests, let me know. And if you have any questions on any of the past interviews, please reach out. Love to connect with you. You can follow us on Instagram or Facebook, or check out our blog.